Browns fans, welcome into another edition of Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy. I'm your host, Nathan Zegura, joined as always by Browns living legend Joe Thomas. And Joe, the Browns still at 4-2, but this Sunday went to Pittsburgh. Not the result that you wanted. What did you take away from that one?
Yeah, it was not the result that anybody in Cleveland Nation wanted to see. But I think when you watch the film, it's never as bad as you really think it was when you're out there on the field. And so the Browns are going to be able to take a lot of things and learn from them when they're watching that film on Monday and move forward. If they can bounce back against the Cincinnati Bengals, that Pittsburgh game is going to be in the rearview mirror quickly and be able to move on and feel really good about where you are after this weekend's game.
Coming up on this show, we will take a look back at that game against Pittsburgh. We will preview the second matchup with the Bengals, plus Hollywood Higgins mic'd up, Sheldrick Redwine in the player spotlight, and Joe and I will go in the film room. But as we always like to start the show, we will do so today with the head coach of your Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, joining us in this week's Serpentini Chevrolet game review. And Coach, as I asked Joe, didn't go the way you wanted in Pittsburgh, but what did you take away from the team's performance against the Steelers?
Yeah, Nathan played a really good football team. We obviously didn't play well enough to win on the road. There were a bunch of things that I wish I could do differently, and we get a chance to play them later. So you take a bunch of notes and you say, all right, next time we play them, we got to do this. But it just wasn't up to our standard in really any area, and ultimately I got to do a better job of putting a plan together that the guys can go out there and execute.
Coach Baker Mayfield was sacked 4 times last week, which was a season high for him. How important is it this week going to Cincinnati and seeing a guy in Geno Atkins that you guys didn't see the first time around? How important is it for the offensive line to bounce back and be able to protect Baker better this week?
Yeah, that's a big part of who we are, Joe, is making sure that our QB is clean. And really, that takes 11 guys on the field. It takes us as coaches to put a plan together that we feel like gives our guys a chance. And I think we have an opportunity here to really alleviate some of the things we did in the last ball game. So it starts with us as coaches putting a plan together, and then it's all about the offensive line, the tight ends working together, the running backs, wide receivers getting open, quarterback getting through his reads. So it's a all-encompassing thing when you're talking about limiting the number of times the QB gets hit. But that's a major focus of ours every game, and it will be this game as well.
Coach, that 1-0 mentality that you've instilled in this football team, obviously helpful after a win, but could also be very helpful after a loss. And this question on Browns Live, we love to get our fan questions in there, comes to us from Dog Pound Dish, and he says, how are you attacking the rest of the season knowing there are still 10 games to be played after that disappointing result in Pittsburgh?
I know there's a game this week. That's kind of, we put our blinders on. So if you say there's 10 games left, I believe you, but I'm really thinking about this one. A really good football team. You know, this one came down to the wire last time, was a onside kick. They've played everybody tight except at Baltimore, and we know how good that team is there. So we know the challenge in front of us, and it's not hard when you have these challenges that come at you every week. It's not hard to keep that focus solely on that week.
On a Monday following a loss, Coach, how important is the process that you guys go through of learning from the game from the day before?
Joe, I think it's important, win, lose, or draw. I really do. I think there's so many things to correct on a Monday. All of us, nobody's played the perfect game except maybe you. But you got to learn from your wins. You got to learn from your losses. And I think our guys understand that. Obviously, there's a bitter taste after a loss that you want to immediately get rid of that game, but you can't do that until you learn from it. And I think that was my message to the guys on Monday. I know they understood where I was coming from. So a bunch of things that we can do better. And then once we had that meeting, once we got through those meetings on Monday, there we go. We got to move on to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. We will be on to Cincinnati just like you when you join us later on in the program. But don't go anywhere. Coming up next, Hollywood Higgins. All he does is catch touchdowns. We've got him mic'd up when Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy, returns.
Bring color to life with the very best paint, only at your Sherwin-Williams store.
You know how these things start. You hear Wendy's is offering free any size hot coffee with any breakfast sandwich. So you have to tell a friend. They get a fresh brew cup and tell another friend, and so on and so on. So get to Wendy's for free coffee with breakfast.
Because of this, we built the most powerful Ford Explorer ever with 400 horsepower. Because of this, we built Ford Expedition with best-in-class towing and plenty of room for crew and cargo. Because of this, we built Escape with Ford Copilot 360. And because Ford SUVs are built for this, you made Ford America's best-selling brand.
The door to a car you've been saving for. The door to a personal loan that feels genuinely personal. The door to a bedroom for each of your teenagers. The door to a new employee who's also your neighbor. And the door to a happy and full life for you and everyone you know. This year, KeyBank has already opened over 170,000 doors, helping people get from where they were to where they wanted to be. KeyBank opens doors.
Get your ice cold Bud Light Seltzer here. Even though you may not be able to come to the game this season, our proud partners at Bud Light can always bring a piece of the game to you. Ice cold Bud Light.
I'll take one.
Oh, right here. Bud Light. Ice cold Bud Light.
You know how these things start. You hear Wendy's is offering free any size hot coffee with any breakfast sandwich. So you have to tell a friend. They get a fresh brew cup and tell another friend. And so on and so on. So get to Wendy's for free coffee with breakfast.
Welcome back into Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy. Nathan Zegura alongside Browns legend Joe Thomas. And Joe, if you want to become a legend as a receiver, all you got to do is catch touchdowns. Hollywood Higgins, 3 of his last 6 catches have been touchdowns. He scored in back-to-back weeks. What does he bring to this team?
Hollywood's been extremely productive for the Browns, and I think what he brings to the Browns is a hard work ethic. He was always a guy when I was there that was spending extra time on the practice field. He was spending extra time in the film room, and he always spent a lot of time in the offseason getting on the same page with the quarterback. And his relationship with Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to be huge for the Browns moving forward, because they have always had such a great connection that as soon as Hollywood gets on the field, Baker always seems to find the seam and always seems to find Hollywood when they get towards the end zone.
Absolutely. As we said, back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. And we got to see those plays. We did it in last week's play breakdown. But let's hear about him from the man himself. Rashard Higgins mic'd up this week, presented by Ruoff Mortgage.
Let's get to it. I don't care about records. No. I don't care about scores. Because it's 0-0. All we got to do is win. Y'all learn to keep it away, and learn being great. Let's go be great. Browns on 3. 1, 2, 3. Browns.
We wait a week for this. We wait weeks for this. It's game time. We wait a week at a time for this.
I'm not a psychic or anything, but I see you having a day.
Yeah?
Yeah, I see you having a day.
Like that.
All about us.
Like that. Let me eat. Let me eat, baby.
What do you think, bro?
Yeah.
It's about that time.
Yeah.
And the Browns offense come out. Down a field goal, 3-0. And Mayfield in a shotgun. Throws, it's picked off at the 30-yard line. Down the sideline they come, and going into the end zone, a touchdown.
Come on, man, we got to answer. We got to answer.
2nd down and 10 at the Steeler 13-yard line. 1:06 to go in the half, and out come the Browns. And on 2nd and 10 with the play clock right now at 3, at 2. He's got the ball, settles, pulls it down, now fires, ends a wide open, caught, touchdown, Hollywood Higgins. 2nd game in a row for Hollywood.
Let's go.
One drive at a time. Boy. Remember how we talked like the week we brought you up? You had a great game. About like your mentality and where you put yourself.
Connor to the 11.
Out here. We're in that moment right now.
Yeah.
You have 2 options. You let the dialogue in your head win, or you control the dialogue.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
A ton of football.
2nd and 7.
Yeah.
And when that moment comes and you're called upon, you got to be ready.
I got you.
Period.
I got you.
From somebody who would love to play another game, I'll tell you my biggest regret is letting those games get to me.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hollywood Higgins caught the only touchdown pass of the day. That was his only catch of the day from 13 yards out. And it all adds up to a 38-7 win for the Steelers and a loss for the Browns. So the 4-game winning streak will come to an end, and the Browns will go to 4-2.
Hollywood Higgins becoming an integral part of that wide receiver room for wide receivers coach Chad O'Shea. And Joe, Odell and Jarvis, they lead the team with 319 yards receiving each. Odell's got the 3 touchdowns. Jarvis has thrown a touchdown. Hollywood has chipped in his 2, and we've seen contributions from Kaderil Hodge and Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. They bring the energy week in and week out, whether it's running routes, whether it's catching touchdowns, whether it's throwing touchdowns, whether it's blocking. This receiver room has been a real bright spot for the 2020 Cleveland Browns. When it comes to energy, we want to see your best fan energy, Browns fans. Submit a picture or video displaying your Browns fandom using the hashtag BestFanEnergy on social media for a chance to win 2 tickets to a Browns game this season. When Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy, returns, we go in the film room, the X's and O's breakdown with Joe Thomas, and we hear from Sheldrick Redwine, who stepped up and stepped in for the Cleveland Browns the last couple of weeks.
Get your ice cold Bud Light Seltzer here. Even though you may not be able to come to the game this season, our proud partners at Bud Light can always bring a piece of the game to you. Ice cold Bud Light.
I'll take one.
Oh, right here. Bud Light. Ice cold Bud Light.
For as long as I can remember, I watched the sunrise and I've watched the sunset, fueling my drive, feeding the fire within. Embrace it, harness it.
It's time to let the sun fuel your life. It's time to own your power.
I am a deep thinker. I am an activist. I am a friend. I am Miles Garrett, and I am a voter.
There is no better time than right now for your actions to matter. In 2016, 100 million eligible voters didn't participate in the general election. Get involved. Unite together. Be the solution by becoming a voter.
Because of this, we built the most powerful Ford Explorer ever, with 400 horsepower. Because of this, we built Ford Expedition with best-in-class towing and plenty of room for crew and cargo. Because of this, we built Escape with Ford Copilot 360. And because Ford SUVs are built for this, you made Ford America's best-selling brand.
Our students don't just read books or write papers. They forge new paths and new ideas. At LECOM, we build medical professionals who excel. We create the foundation of a better world. We seek new ways to aid others. We lead the next generation. We guide the future of medicine. At LECOM, we make doctors.
Welcome back to Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy. Nathan Zegura alongside Joe Thomas. And Joe, Sheldrick Redwine, a guy who started the final 5 games of 2019, and he told me that valuable experience has really helped him so far this season. Steps in against the Colts, he gets a pick. This week he starts against the Steelers, plays well, comes up with a big sack. Sheldrick stepping up here, another young player in this secondary for Joe Woods.
Yeah, without Carl Joseph and Ronnie Harrison, it's important to be able to have your backups step up and to fill into those roles and to be able to play well enough where nobody even notices that they're missing. And Sheldrick is doing a great job. He's really embodying the Browns mentality that Kevin Stefanski wants to build within his team, that it doesn't matter who's in there, the standard is the same. The culture is what builds that, and I think Kevin Stefanski has done a great job, as you can see with how the guys filling in with some of those injuries we've had in the secondary have been playing.
Sheldrick Redwine, a guy who has made the most of his opportunities on the field, also does that off the field. Kevin Stefanski made the second-year player a part of the team's social justice committee, and Redwine very well respected in that locker room. Let's hear from him now in this week's Player Spotlight, presented by Electronic Merchant Systems.
All right, we're joined now by Brown safety Sheldrick Redwine. And Sheldrick, a tough game in Pittsburgh, but what is the team focused on in trying to bounce back this week against the Bengals?
You know, just setting our focus on a new week, leaving the game in the past, preparing for the upcoming game, not dwelling on it, but, preparing for, the rest of the season, the upcoming game. It's another big game because it's the next one. So, just setting our sights, on Cincinnati, focusing hard on that, and not letting what happened in the past, kind of deter us from, building on in the future.
Now, you had one of the biggest turnovers of the season against the Colts, and what made that even maybe more special was you were coming off cold off the bench. I mean, what went into that, and just was it kind of a right place, right time thing, or were you just kind of mentally ready and reading that pass correctly?
Man, I really feel like, it was me being mentally ready. I texted my mom this, I had a different kind of feeling, going towards the Colts game, and I'm a very superstitious person, so I felt all of that stuff leading up to it, and then, like I said, like everybody's seen, when I stepped onto the field, I told the ball, I need you, and it was kind of like a relief feeling out of me, and then, going into the play, when I snapped my head back around and seen the ball there, you know, it was like I practiced it in my mind already, you know. So just grabbing that, you know, it was a great feeling, exciting for me to get my first interception, and even more exciting to get the win.
All right, we got our fan question here from @TheMarkDavidson, because this is a fan-focused show, and he asked, you've seen increased defensive snaps the last 2 games. How are you staying mentally ready for when your number was called?
Man, exactly how you said it, you know, always staying mentally ready, you know, making sure my mind's right, you know, knowing the game plan going into the game, you know, but also, you know, making sure I'm relaxed, you know, not anxious when I get out there, you know, just playing with a cool, level-headed, you know, composure, you know. So staying in, you know, being in that game for the first time, you know, it was my first time since last year playing the entire game. So, you know, it was really just more of my, you know, attention to details, you know, focusing on the little things, not trying to go out there and do too much, you know, but just falling back and really relying on my training that I had prepared for the entire week.
All right, Sheldrick, thank you so much, and good luck on Sunday against Cincinnati.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great to hear from Sheldrick Redwine, and it's great to go in the film room with this week's play breakdown presented by Microsoft Surface as one of the greatest of all time. Tells you exactly what's happening on the field. Let's take a look at this one, and we're going to start. Steelers are playing what they play a lot of, cover 3. Here are your 3 zones here. And what the Browns are going to do is they're going to run Odell Beckham Jr. to kind of clear out this zone, and Austin Hooper is going to run a little out and up and kind of follow him, the kind of a follow concept, as that zone gets cleared out, all of a sudden he is going to be all alone. Let's take a look, Joe.
Yeah, what I love about this play is it really describes what we've been talking about all season and how Kevin Stefanski's offense really does a great job of utilizing the play-action pass. You see the secondary, they're bailing out of there. They're in that cover 3. They need to get deeper than the deepest. You got Odell going down the field, which opens up the middle of the field because you can see those linebackers. They're sucked up onto the line of scrimmage, thinking it's possibly a run. That opens up Austin Hooper to be able to run that little wheel route down and up. And that middle of the field softness is exactly what you get when you're running the football and you're running play-action offense.
Now we're going to go back to week 2 against the Bengals. 4-minute offense time. The Browns know they're running the ball. The Bengals know they're running the ball. So it's kind of like a goal line play out on about the 45-yard line. And as you see this one happen, you're going to see our guy Harrison Bryant come in motion and get wide, get space. When we get to the end zone view, or as Joe likes to say, the lineman view, you're going to see that. But he's wide there. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a big gap here and here, and you're going to have Joel Bitonio pull around, and Kareem Hunt's going to be able to follow the lead block of Andy Janovich. And guess what, folks? Kareem's going to end up down here off to the races.
Nathan, I think you did a great job highlighting the play design and how the little details in a play can make a big difference. You see Harrison Bryant going in motion, and instead of stopping at the normal tight end position, he extends his motion an extra 1.5 yards, which gives space on the defense for the Browns to be able to get back Andy Janovich and left guard Joel Bitonio up and into that space, and those guys do the rest. They come through with those low pads, both hitting with their shoulder, giving Kareem Hunt that little bit of space that he needs to be able to get through. These are not the type of runs that you expect to see in a 4-minute offense like Nathan just mentioned. The Cincinnati Bengals are essentially in their goal line defense, so to be able to rip off a huge 30-plus yard run against the goal line defense that is specifically committed to stopping the run says a lot about the details that the Browns had been preparing with and the way that they were able to execute. Great job by the Browns, and as always, you got to get those receivers blocking downfield if you want those big runs.
Ooh, Joe, you got me fired up. I love looking at what the Browns did to the Bengals in week 2. But up next on Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy, we're going to talk with head coach Kevin Stefanski about what he hopes to see from the Browns against Cincinnati in week 7.
Get your ice cold Bud Light. Bud Light Seltzer here. Even though you may not be able to come to the game this season, our proud partners at Bud Light can always bring a piece of the game to you. Ice cold Bud Light.
I'll take one.
Oh, right here. Bud Light. Ice cold Bud Light.
Our students don't just read books or write papers. They forge new paths and new ideas. At LECOM, we build medical professionals who excel. We create the foundation of a better world. We seek new ways to aid others. We lead the next generation. We guide the future of medicine. At LECOM, we make doctors.
The world has changed, but some facts remain. Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack, and every hour, over 700 people suffer a broken bone. While those numbers haven't changed, there are fewer people seeking the treatment they need. If you're injured, sick, or in pain, it's safe to get the care you need at university hospitals. Protecting your health with science and compassion. That's UH Safe.
Hi, my name is Kyle, and I'm a pharmacist at Discount Drug Mart, but that's not all I am. I'm a daughter, a wife, and a mother. I'm your neighbor, part of the community just like you. Drug Mart is part of the community too. They have been for more than 50 years. Now, more than ever in these challenging times, your neighborhood Drug Mart pharmacy, all of us, are here to help you. You can rely on us to go the extra mile, whatever you need, every time. I know in my heart that I can lean on my neighbors, and you can lean on Discount Drug Mart.
Welcome back to Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy. Nathan Zegura, Joe Thomas, and we welcome back in the head coach of your Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, for this week's game preview presented by Ruoff Mortgage. And Coach, 1-0 this season against the Bengals. It'll be the first team that you see twice this year. So as a coach, how do you approach this second meeting with a divisional foe?
Yeah, you kind of look at the tape from your previous game and understand what they were trying to do, what we were trying to do. They'll have some wrinkles for us, we'll have some for them, and I think the big part is understanding who they are now, because on their side they have a couple guys that are in the lineup that weren't there previously, a couple guys that were out. We're in the same boat. As the NFL season unfolds, you have guys in and out, so really got to understand the personnel, and then with that personnel, are they doing anything differently? So from our offense's perspective, what are the fronts they're running in their base with Hubbard out? In their nickel package, or are they playing a lot of one high or two high? On the other side, it's this quarterback is getting comfortable with certain concepts that they've been running throughout the year. So are those the ones showing up? Is this a multiple personnel game? So there's a lot of things early in the game that you're waiting to see. There's some unknowns, even though we just played this team.
The Browns and the Patriots are the only teams in the NFL defensively to not give up a plus 25-yard run so far. The Bengals are running the football a little bit better right now than they were the first time you guys saw them. How important is it to minimize the explosive rushing plays in this weekend's game?
Yeah, it's huge, Joe. And this run game gets on the perimeter real fast with Joe Mixon. So we have to gang tackle. That stat you cited there, that's a defensive unit stat. That's everybody with 11 dudes getting their hat on the ball. And that's going to be vitally important versus this rush attack, because they really do find ways to get him on the perimeter.
Coach, this week's best fan question comes to us from @IWishIWasAFox, and it's powered by FirstEnergy. He wants to know, what is your brand of football? When you're all done coaching, what do you want the Kevin Stefanski brand to be synonymous with, and how close is this team to embodying that brand that you set out at the beginning of the year?
I mean, I appreciate the question, but it's really the Browns brand of football is what I'm hoping for. So you've seen it at times this year. We're looking to be a team that doesn't beat themselves, plays a physical brand of football, and ultimately plays together. But it's definitely not about me. It's about these Cleveland Browns.
Coach, Myles Garrett leads the NFL in pressure rate. Joe Burrow, he's a guy that gets pressured a lot. How important is it going to be for Myles to be able to get into Joe Burrow's lap and be able to pressure that quarterback, make him feel him, especially early on in the game?
Yeah, we definitely want the quarterback to acknowledge our pressure. We want to get around him, as you know. Now, on the other side, they know that too. So you can anticipate that they're going to try to get the ball out of his hand quickly, use some screens, chip, slide to Myles. That's all the attention that Myles gets that really doesn't show up in the stat sheet. So, he had a sack the other day where the running back chipped him after he made an inside move off of a stunt. So he's getting plenty of attention. He's still producing, and that's what we expect of him because he's that caliber of player.
Coach, thank you so much for the time, and best of luck on Sunday in Cincinnati against the Bengals.
Great. Thanks, guys.
All right, it is time to go inside the mind of one of the all-time greats for Joe's final thoughts with Joe Thomas. Joe?
24-2-1. That's Ben Roethlisberger's starting record against the Browns. That symbolizes decades of heartbreak for myself and all of Dogtown Nation. That symbolizes the mental hurdle that players on the Cleveland Browns have to face every time Big Ben suits up against the Browns. That symbolizes the confidence and emotional boost that the Steelers get every single time they go against the Browns. Now, I may be a masochist, but I didn't bring that up because of my love of pain. I bring that up because of what it symbolizes right now and the opportunity that the Browns have a similar record against another young budding star in the AFC North, and that's Joe Burrow. Right now, the Cleveland Browns 1-0 against Joe Burrow. They beat him up. They sacked him. They pressured him the first game of the season, but he's playing a lot better already. Joe Burrow's going to be around the AFC for a long time. And that hurdle that they want to continue to build, that mental wall that you need to build in Joe Burrow's head, that's going to continue on Sunday. And it's up to the Browns. We need to take advantage.
Great point there, Joe. You're right. Baker Mayfield 4-1 in his young career against the Bengals. Thank you for joining us tonight on Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy. But before we sign off, we want to take a moment to recognize a frontline worker who has made a tremendous impact in their community during the pandemic. Each game during the regular season, the Browns will honor this individual prior to kickoff as parts of our Hats Off to Our Heroes program. This week's hero is Rick Costanzo, a volunteer with Helping Hands. During the pandemic, most support groups had to decrease the amount of time they could go out and help in the community. However, Rick and his team at Helping Hands doubled their efforts to provide the homeless of Cleveland with food, blankets, tents, and other essentials. Rick, from all of us at the Browns, we thank you. Don't forget, this Sunday, 11 a.m., Browns Countdown, getting you the latest on the 4-2 Browns taking on the 1-win Bengals in Cincinnati. For Joe Thomas, I'm Nathan Zegura saying thank you to the best fans in the NFL for joining us on Browns Live, powered by FirstEnergy, and let's go Browns.